More than 50% of sudden unintended acceleration accidents in Korea involve drivers under the age of 60, according to government data, contrary to the belief that many such cases are due to operator error by older drivers.
정부 자료에 따르면 우리나라 급발진 사고의 절반 이상이 60세 미만 운전자에게서 신고된 걸로 드러나 고령 운전자의 운전 실수로 인한 경우가 많다는 통념과 상반되는 것으로 나타났습니다. So this term here, I found that it's sometimes abbreviated to SUA, sudden unintended acceleration accidents. In Korea, we call it 급발진, and that's when the car suddenly moves really fast.
Yeah. that's what it, and unintentionally, it's unintended. So I haven't heard of this until recently.
Okay, yeah. In Korea, we've heard, well, we've had stories in the news of people in their 70s, 80s saying,
Right.
I didn't even step on the gas pedal, but the car suddenly moved really fast and I ended up, crashing into a tree or something.
I remember when I was a kid, there was this pizza restaurant in my town, and some person, again, I'm almost positive I remember the story correctly, it was an elderly person, and they drove right through the window of the restaurant because they went to park, and the same thing happened. But I think everyone thought, no, you probably hit the gas instead of the brake, and then you hopped the curb and went right through the window of this new restaurant.
And that's what I'm sure a lot of people here think as well, because in the news, when we have stories about SUA, it's generally people that are older, and so even though they claim to have not stepped on the gas pedal, many people think
You probably
did.
Right.
But this data says more than half of these accidents that have been reported are actually drivers under the age of 60.
Under the age of 60. I did a rough calculation. Based on the numbers that the article had, it was around actually 56% were below 60. The highest case incident, though, are people in their 60s. Okay. So of these, they looked at data. They had 456 reports. Yep. They had nearly 400 confirmed with age. So not all of them, not all of the reports, they knew the age. The age had not been verified, I should say. So in roughly these 400 cases where they had the age, 122 of them were drivers in their 60s. So that's the highest proportion. But if you take the numbers, you add up the numbers of people under in their 50s, 40s, and 30s, it's actually more.
아, 그렇군요. 이 데이터가 이제 최근에 결과가 발표가 됐는데 수집이 된 데이터는 2014년부터 지난달까지의 꽤 방대한 데이터입니다. 그런데 이제 이렇게 보게 되면은 456건의 이런 급발진 사고가 집계가 됐고 그 중에 122건이 60대 운전자였고요. 비율로 봤을 때는 이제 연령대는 60대가 122명으로 가장 많았습니다. 그렇지만 이제 전체적으로 퍼센티지를 보게 되면은 60세 미만 운전자가 절반 이상이었다. 이런 얘기가 되겠네요. 70대 운전자는 46명, 그리고 80대 운전자는 3명. 이렇게 나왔습니다. 이 데이터에 따르면 그렇다는 거죠. So this is from 2014 until last month. So it's
Right.
a long
10-year,
period, actually.
Right.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so sudden unintended acceleration. 이게 급발진이라고 합니다. 저도 좀 찾아봤는데요. 이거를 이제 SUA라고 이제 줄여서 말하기도 하더라고요. Unintended의 뜻 볼게요.
Anytime we say something is unintended, it means it was not on purpose. It was not intentional. It was unintentional. You didn't mean to do it. So sometimes you can offend somebody and it was unintended. You didn't mean to do that. Anything that's not on purpose.
네.
Like, I don't know, during when you were speaking before, the sign behind you fell.
Oh.
Like that was totally unintended.
Did it? When did that happen?
Oh, during your long explanation about
really?
the way that numbers
It's
were
written in the news. Oh, 그랬군요. 몰랐네요.
That was unintended. Anyone who saw that, there's a perfect example of when something's unintended.
네, 의도치 않은 일이 발생했습니다. 아까 제가 뭐 이런저런 설명하고 있는 중에 뒤에 있는 현수막이 떨어졌나 봐요. 저희가 의도하지 않았다는 거. It
Things
was
like that
unintended.
things like that happen on live radio.
And I had no idea that happened.
Yeah, you were so into your explanation.
Exactly. Okay, what about contrary to something, contrary to a belief?
Well, this word contrary is used in a few different ways.
Yeah.
It always means against what was said or what was thought. So in this case, contrary to the belief. A lot of times when you'll see this phrase, it'll say contrary to the belief of some. It'll make a group, right?
Yeah.
Contrary to the belief of some players or contrary to the belief of some students. And then it'll say the opposite of what most people think is actually true.
Exactly.
You'll also sometimes hear contrary to the popular belief or popular opinion. Again, that's what most people think. So you know, and I a lot of times when there's phrases like this, I'll just search the news, recent headlines to see how they're used. And like one of them said, contrary to popular belief, the Putin-Xi summit was not about Ukraine. That was a headline. Again, we're probably going to think if they meet, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah. But
No,
Ukraine,
actually,
sorry, yeah.
apparently it wasn't true.
Yeah.
You'll also sometimes hear the phrase on the contrary or to the contrary. And that again just means the opposite. So one interesting headline I found yesterday said, Google's business does not suffer from AI competition. On the contrary. So everyone thought, oh, it would probably be hurt by all this AI competition. Actually, no, Google reported the highest earnings they've ever reported. So the company's actually doing just fine. So on the contrary means the opposite of that.
네, 일반적인 생각과는 달리라는 뜻이 있습니다. On the contrary라고도 많이 하고요. If you're going to be a bit fancy with this term, you might go for the French way of saying it, which is au contraire, which I think people will understand.
And then roll their eyes at you for yeah.
But in England, they do this quite a lot where they'll use words that sound similar in French, but just say it to lighten the situation. You know, it sounds fancy, but also funny at the same time.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know if they do this a lot in North America, but in England...
I've heard it.
Yeah. So
I've been to England a lot.
of course.
Yeah, I've heard it.
So on the contrary라고 하기도 하고 contrary to popular belief, the popular belief or popular opinion 이것도 다 마찬가지로 일반적인 생각과는 달리라는 뜻이 되겠습니다. 자, 다시 한번 읽어볼게요. More than 50% of sudden unintended acceleration accidents in Korea involve drivers under the age of 60, according to government data. Contrary to the belief that many such cases are due to operator error by older drivers.